Wild Boar Hunt, a battle for survival. The scorching heat of Tucson, Arizona couldn't stop our steps. Nestled in the rugged Santa Catalina Mountains, with dense forests, rocky slopes, and deep valleys, this land was a true paradise for wild boars to thrive. I had heard stories about this place for years, and this time, I wasn't just here to hunt. I was here to test myself, to see if the instinct to survive still burned within me when thrown into the wilderness. Our team chose a vantage point high up, overlooking the entire valley. We held our breath, waiting nearly half an hour. And then they appeared, a herd of wild boars, descending the mountain slope. I raised my rifle, staying calm. Gunshots rang out, blending with the frantic squeals of the boars. Within seconds, I managed to take down 4 of them, a start that was as exhilarating as it was unforgettable. In that moment, I didn't just feel excitement. I felt like I had crossed into another world, one where every sense was pushed to its absolute limit. I stayed put, scanning the landscape. One boar had managed to slip away, and I needed to finish the job. Just as it ducked behind a bush, I squeezed the trigger. It was a long-distance shot, but it landed true. I smiled. My skills had clearly leveled up. Maybe it was the years of pressure from a farmer's life, the battles against destruction and loss. That had honed me into a colder, more precise shooter. Not out of bloodlust, but out of necessity. We pressed forward, following fresh tracks. A group of 10 boars was moving together, oblivious to our presence. As they hesitated, sensing something wrong, we were already raising our rifles. Gunfire erupted. One boar dropped, the rest bolted in a frenzy. This was the first time I truly felt the silent bond between teammates. No words were needed. Every move was instinctive, synchronized, almost eerie in its precision. Dust and gun smoke filled the air. The herd scattered desperately, but it was no use. We, seasoned hunters, cut them down before they could escape. Our aerial tracker pinged another target. I didn't hesitate. Another shot, another kill. The feeling wasn't triumph. It was relief. I had done what needed to be done. As we climbed higher, a few lone boars tried to break free. One large boar attempted to crash through our formation, but we had planned for that. Hunting at these altitudes wasn't easy. Thick foliage cut down visibility. Every step had to be calculated. One mistake could mean losing the quarry, or worse, putting ourselves in danger of being ambushed. The vegetation grew thicker, forcing us to call on our loyal companions, the hunting dogs. They sniffed, barked, and led the way, pushing us into full alert mode. And then, through the shadows, a flash of movement. Hardy fire, a clean shot. The boar collapsed. At that moment, I felt a wave of gratitude, not just for my teammates, but for the dogs too. They weren't just tools. They were the spirit of the hunt itself. When dozens of boars finally fell, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. Our 300-hectare farm in New South Wales had suffered terribly from these feral pigs. I had been licensed to shoot for years, but this time I invested in everything. New guns, infrared scopes, pickup trucks. Not for fun, out of sheer necessity. To prevent complete loss, accompanied by our trusty dogs, we pushed into a forest 3 kilometers from the farm, the boars' shelter. When the dogs picked up a strange noise, they darted forward, chasing and exhausting the boar until it dropped. Watching it unfold, I felt a sting in my chest. Behind every trigger pull was the unseen battle, with fear, guilt, and a duty no one really wanted but had no choice but to carry. In New South Wales, farmers are legally allowed to shoot feral pigs if they hold a firearms license. We decided to change tactics, using buggies to hunt more efficiently across the flat terrain. Tom drove while I rode shotgun, literally, taking down the boars one by one. It wasn't easy. My hands sometimes trembled with hesitation. But every time I thought about the months of hard labor being torn apart in a single night, I pulled the trigger. Wild boars aren't stupid. They move with the wind. They never use the same path twice. If you want to beat them, you have to think like a boar. This wasn't a game. This was a mental chess match. Man versus nature. Instinct versus logic.